minutes, but before they bring the chicken out, rightfully so, we must say grace. So Grady Matthews said that he'd like to do it. I don't know what he's going to say, but anything goes tonight.
Well, this is fairly circumspect. Louis Roberts was asked to say grace in Bob Musey's household, a very religious family. So Louis said, everybody bow your heads. Rub-a-dub-dub, thanks for the grub, yay God.
Bring out the food.
Get the chairs, back his head in there. Thank you. Check. Okay.
Go ahead, Grady.
Don't say that.
I can get this coming.
We're going to do it again.
Can I hold this like this? Oh, all right. I want to tell a couple of quick stories which you might find entertaining. Many of us that are a little older had the pleasure of knowing Omaha Fats. And he was a guy that was heavy set. He weighed about 300 pounds. He always had on a t-shirt, that big old belly flopped out underneath his t-shirt. And one night, Minnesota Fats had an exhibition in the same room that Omaha Fats was in. So Minnesota asked Omaha, he said, well, what do you think of Zsa Zsa Gabor? And Omaha made this timeless answer, well, I don't know the man, but I'll try him some 9-ball. Now this is a nice story, happened out in Reno a couple of years ago. Rich Geiler is a gentleman who stutters when he talks, but he's a terrific singer. And he and Buddy had the pleasure of playing each other in a match, and Buddy took his bathroom break. And as he left, Rich went ahead and shot. When he came back, Buddy had ball in hand, and Rich is trying to tell him, you've got ball, and he tried again, you've got ball in hand, he finally said. Now, Louis Roberts isn't here, and he was one of my dearest friends. Unfortunately, he had the mental and emotional constitution of like a 12-year-old, but I loved Louis, and I resented anybody that made fun of him or denigrated his many fine accomplishments. But I got a couple of stories maybe to entertain you about him. One time he kept getting these dunning letters from this same creditor, and Louis got tired of it, and he sent them a response. He said, look, you're not familiar with the way I conduct my payment records and so forth. He says, every month I take all my creditors' names and I dump them into a hat and I conduct a winning draw. The lucky winner gets 50 cents. He says, if you continue to harass me, however, I'll be forced to remove your name from the hat. One night, Louis held the record. He hocked the same cue stick 9 times. He'd go to the bathroom, he'd say, Barry, loan me $800 on this $5,000 pew. He says, I want to keep it to play with, of course, and I'll take care of you when we get done. One time I saw him come up to Rimpy, and he borrowed like $50 from Rimpy, and Rimpy sees him make a quick bet on the crap table. When he looked at Rimpy, he winked, he said, that wasn't your 50, Jim. He said, I used that to pay the rent. But the guy played airless 9-ball for long, long periods of time. I mean, I just love the guy, you know. Yeah, may he rest in peace. That year that he won here, by the way, he lost his first match. And he went to a guy, he said, look, you know, I'm a pretty good player. I'm going to try hard. He said, I'll tell you what, I'll take $800 and you can buy my results in the tournament. So the guy did that. And Louis ended up winning the tournament. So Louis didn't get all of his prizes, you know. But the guy gave him a pretty good tip anyway, you know. But all of this bullshit aside, I want to say something here. I'm getting a little tired of all the politics that are going on. No disrespect against anybody, but this guy does the best job in the world. And something that has not been brought up is this. He's been quietly and every year given all the past champions a free entry fee. That's like $10,000 just by itself. It's extra and added.
Yeah, and that's Alan Hopkins' fault. I love him. I'll tell you why I love him. Thank you.
Do you want to tell a few stories?
First things first. Thank you for that wonderful applause, everybody. First things first, rightfully so. I have something for you, Corey. All right? It's not a short blonde, okay? It's a nice green something. Come on up here, Corey. Corey. off or get jackets. It took me a year to get this one. But at this time, I would like to present the 2001, excuse me, he's not 19, 2001 U.S. Open champion, rightfully so, his well-deserved green jacket for winning this awesome event last year. Corey?
Okay, thank you, folks. Okay. I guess I've always wanted to have one of these jackets. I would have gave you a shot. They might have really set on me, I guess. I'd just like to thank Barry for continuing the event, for sure. And, hopefully maybe I can get another winner under the belt. Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. It's been since 1990 since we've had a back-to-back champion. 1990. Tell you how much I love all my past champions, and I didn't win a chance to dress cheesy tonight, but I'll show you why. I love you guys. Okay? And I'd rather keep it off because it's a lot cooler. But anyway, I'll put it back on. Before we start with this great time that we're having tonight, believe me, there's this very special person up here that has not won the U.S. Open, but he's done a tremendous amount for pool. He is considered the ambassador. He's traveled all over the world, and he, rightfully so, just 2 months ago was inducted to the PPA Hall of Fame. Jimmy Rippey, please stand up. Okay, Jimmy, you're my guest tonight, and I've got to rag you. Okay, this is a true story. The brain still works. 1975, I went to Chicago in the early 70s to watch all the U.S. Open straight pool matches. Conrad Bergen will attest to that. We were roommates a couple of years. He was refereeing all the final matches, and that's really what I got hooked on the U.S. Open in Chicago at Hilton Hotel. The mezzanine upstairs, just a wonderful setting. In 1975, Jimmy Rippey did something unbelievable. 74? 1 year off? That's not bad. I'm 39 now. Give me a break. 1970, that's right, this is right, one in the 70s and one's in 273. 74. Every match he played, he fought back. He was down 80 to nothing to 150. 127 to nothing going to 150. Every match. I mean, he woke up and it was, he was down 100 balls. He's playing in the finals with Joe Balsas. I don't want to bring up, but what the hell. Jimmy's got 199, Balsas has 183. That's pretty good. And tough shot on a 9-ball, all balls. And I must admit, and I never told you this, I short shoot. Yeah, I had the camera. I took the picture. The flash didn't go off. Otherwise, you'd have remembered me big time. I'd be gotten beaten up that night. But I was out there, and I'm sorry if I short you, but I really didn't. But yeah, it was my fault. Jimmy misses the 9. Balsas runs 17 and out. Jimmy loses 200 to 199. Well, all that week, I was staying at the hotel room with Steve Cook. And Jimmy was staying on the same floor of the Chicago Sheraton. And we really became pretty good friends that week, just hanging out, and I idolized this man, and I still did. And everybody, I'm sure, does. So after the match was over, 10 o'clock at night, I'm walking the streets of Chicago by myself, feeling miserable for this man. I looked pathetic, because I really, it was a tough beat. So I go back to my room about 11 o'clock at night. I'm still feeling miserable. I'm by myself. And like I said, Jimmy and I became pretty good friends that week, just socializing a little bit and just talking. Not partying at all, just hanging out. So about 11 o'clock, I hear a knock on my door. I go to the door, open the door. It's Jimmy standing there by himself. I look up at him. I mean, he was the king in '74. And of course he still is. I look up at him and I go, oh man. He goes, don't worry about it. You got a joint? I'm going, oh God. Why am I done yet? I go, oh God. I will get high with the king. Oh man. Oh, this is like almost as good as sex. Okay? Maybe back then I'd have slept with you. Maybe back then I slept with you, but never have. So anyway, here you go. So he comes in, I'm rolling this little thing up, right? I'm getting all excited because we're going to hang out. I hand him the thing, guess what he says? He goes, do you mind if I just take it with me? I want to be alone. I said, whatever. And I don't think we've ever got high together, but tonight I'm high as a kite, naturally. And I had to tell that story. Jimmy's a Christian, but in the 70s, everybody smoked pot. So that's the story of Jimmy Rimby, and I love him. All right, Scott, you ready to say something? Okay. We really had a little rehearsal yesterday that lasted 10 minutes. So a lot of this is going to be off the hip. Because I've got some, Grady's got some, Scott's got some, Jerry Forsythe has some, and Marty, whatever name you want to be called tonight, alias. You have both, yeah, right. So we're going to say it like it is, and if there's any Christians or Jewish people in here that don't like any words, Tommy, put some plugs in, I'm sorry. I mean, forgive us, Lord, for having a good time tonight.
Well, since Barry opened up the realm of partying, and since we were talking about St. Louis just a few minutes ago, anyway, the tournament, I'm not sure exactly of the location, but, okay, Louis wanted to score a joint himself. Anyway, he was partying with a couple guys, I think one of them was Bob Ockburn, a couple other guys, Jimmy Reed possibly, and they were, anyway, Louis been drinking and everything, and they told Louis, go back and go to bed, Louis. They didn't want to talk anymore. And Louis kept calling their room and hey. And they kept ignoring him and everything. So Louis went and pulled the fire alarm. At about 2 or 3 in the morning. So the whole hotel empties out. And then they go back to the hotel. Louis tries to get these guys again to get hooked up. They don't hook him up. The fire alarm goes off again. Anyway, it's Louis' little trick to pay him back. And there's another Louis story too about the time he was drinking a little too much and dove into a swimming pool that only had about a foot of water in it, and he didn't like it, but God bless him.
Scott will be back. All right, we're going to start off with Corey. You'll be last since you know. No, you are. You're coming up. We're going to roast Corey last. But the first one we're going to roast is, just be quiet, young man, okay? All right, shut up. This young man, and he's still a young man, and I love him not just because we're of the same religion. He, as we all know, won his first tournament ever in 1974 at my old location, the Paddle & Cue. It was then called the U.S. Nightball Classic. He won it 2 years in a row, and then I began the U.S. Open in '76. Well, if you ask Mike Siegel how many times did he win the U.S. Open, he'll tell you 5 times. But, sorry, Mike, record 73, 76, 80, and 83. So they, the records do say. What's wrong with this, Mike? Well, did you get paid? Okay. Anyway, they were not the U.S. Open because Conrad Bergman in 1976, I called him up and I said, Conrad, does anybody anybody have the U.S. Open straight pool? I've had a few tournaments on my belt. And he said, no. I said, well, put me down. That's how you get it down. Put me down, I want to start. So it officially began in 76. But Mike did win 3 years in a row and went undefeated. 15-0, you know, or 16-0, whatever it was. He owned Q Masters in Northview for 3 years. And then, of course, he went on to do awesome things in pool. But it wouldn't be fair for a Jewish guy to rag another Jewish guy. So this time, I'm going to bring, oh yeah, your name's on this. Your name is, we had this rehearsal yesterday, remember? It says Marty next to Siegel. Okay, I have a book. So, I'm sure we all know Marty Sawinski. Let's give Marty a nice round, please.
You know, I don't know what I'm going to say, Mike. I haven't, I asked people for stories, you know, interesting stories about you, and nobody could come up with one good Mike Siegel stories. That's it. No, actually, Mike's probably been one of my favorite players over the years to watch. A lot of times I won't even stick around at an event if I'm out, except to maybe watch Mike or Earl or after him. But as you come to me, he's probably the best tournament 9-ball player of all time. A lot of people say that. What was it? You see his stroke his head. How about the time? I guess he was in a match or something. He had just drilled somebody, and or he just executed a shot that required just the utmost finesse and knowledge. And after it was over, he says, I'm so smart. He says, I got so much knowledge. They should just call me Mr. N. And then everybody started laughing, and he thought about it. Oh yeah. Very famous Mike Siegel story. Let me see. I still think Mike has. I was like to think I was when I talked to him like last year, because 2 years ago I was here. He was selling his cues. I remember going to the tournament thinking, how the hell can this guy come to this joint and not play in the tournament? Regardless of whether they dogs it or not. And so Earl and Siegel, I walked out, or I was inside. There's a little demo table that was abandoned. You better be listening to this, Mike. And so anyway, Roger Garris was this big crowd just enjoying watching these two, get it out outside, and just being next to two great champions. And so I start getting down my classic Siegel stance without even a cue stick, and I just doing my Mike Siegel impression. Roger Griffiths takes Mike Siegel, spins him around, points him at me, and everybody, there's like 34 people out there laughing their ass off. And so I go outside, and there's Siegel next to Earl, and Earl's not crazy about my impressions over the years, but the content of what I said this time really made them both laugh. I says, I guarantee if I ever come back to a tournament 10 years after I won it 3 times, I ain't going to be selling my cue sticks, not playing in the tournament. I mean, that's absolutely brilliant. Anyway, I never really got Mike's voice down. It's not something I've ever practiced over the years, but him and his wife showed me something last time. His wife actually did an impression of Mike Siegel fishing. Some of you know he enjoys bass fishing and such. And she says he's sitting there and something like this. There he is. God damn it.
And that's all I got to say about that.
All right, Marty will be back. Mike Siegel, would you please stand up? Mike Siegel, 1976, 83, U.S. Open, and 74-75. Mike Siegel, thank you for being here. The next gentleman, ladies and gentlemen, has taught me a lot over the years. Many, many things. And all you past champions should thank him every year. Believe me, and I'll tell you why. Alan is, and always has been, a very smart man. And that's why I hope to one day follow in his footsteps if I live long enough. But anyway, Alan won the U.S. Open in 77 and 81. And I called him up a couple months before the tournament in 78 to see if he was coming to defend. He said, no, Barry, I'm not coming unless you pay my entrance fee. So I said to myself, this is nice. I gave the guy $5,000 last year. That was a lot of money there. And he didn't want to put up the $300 to play. So I'm a stubborn little Jewish guy. So I didn't pay it, and he didn't show up. But I got to thinking about it. Daggone it, he wasn't right. Because all the past champions of a major championship, whether it's golf, ping pong, or tennis, or whatever, I don't care if they're 20 or 90. I mean, look at Gene Sarazen, may rest in peace, and others that have teed off at the Masters year after year. They deserve the recognition, and believe me, I'm fortunate to be able to pay their entrance fees. But Alan Hopkins is the reason that all you past champions get to play for free as long as you like. So let's give Alan a nice round. Anybody want to tell Alan Hopkins, I can tell one from last night, but I'm not going to. You want me to? All right, last night, this friend of mine looks like Heather Locklear, beautiful girl, 34 years old. I haven't seen her in a year, but she only comes around once a year when she thinks I have a few dollars. Anyway, no, that's all right. Anyway, I didn't mean to say that. Anyway, I haven't seen her in a year, but 11 or 12 years ago, the late Wright, in the early 90s, when she came around all the time, she thought this Mr. Hopkins, and he still lives a pretty boy, but she really liked his looks. So she calls me about 11 o'clock last night. What are you doing? I said, well, whatever you want to do. So she said, what room are you in? And I told her. So she meets me. I said, I'll be right back. I'm going to go to the bar and get a couple of drinks. Because, I called and they wouldn't deliver it, so I had to go there. Lo and behold, who's sitting in the bar? With his son, having a beer. Mr. Hopkins. I went, oh, this is great. So I asked Alan, how to do me a favor, do you remember this girl? Because she's, Heather Locklear lookalike. Very beautiful. And I said, Alan, here's my key. Take these drinks to the room. So he takes the key, sticks it in. She didn't have time to get ready for me, so she still had all of her belongings on. So Alan walks in the room, and thank you, Alan, because of you, I was very lucky last night. You got it warmed up for me. Thank you, Alan Hopkins. And on the way home, in my car, I called his hotel room. He wasn't there. I left him a juicy message. Okay, we're going to move on. Alan Hopkins, please stand up. 1977, the name of the U.S. Open champion. Now, any of you guys that are getting emotional tonight that want to come up here and grab this microphone, don't let me hold you back, okay? And I know how much Siegel likes to talk. Yeah, Mike Siegel's going to actually tell a story. You have the green light, champions. Get your mouth up here.
All right, now when they start the next match? Okay, now this is a good story. It happens to be about Barry, that's the guy I call the Jew Master. I came up with that name. But anyway, now I'm going back a few years. This was 1983, I believe. It was the first U.S. Open, or the first tournament on ESPN. Is that correct? Remember I played Jimmy Reed in the finals. Does anybody remember that show on ESPN? No, I won in '83. I played, it was a Richie Florence event in the, oh, you remember that now. You were at the Bulls, that's what I'm getting to. Anyway, the tournament was the first ESPN telecast. It was in 1983. I played Jimmy Reed in the finals. It was at Resorts in Atlantic City. So anyway, got down, I was leading, I think it was a race to 9. I was leading 7-1. It looked like a throw-in. And all of a sudden, Jimmy Reed started winning a couple games. It got 7-2, 7-3, 7-4, 7-5, almost 7-6. I got it up to the table. My arm's starting to feel a little heavy, you see. So anyway, I do something. The next thing, Jimmy Reed gets up, and he shoots a shot, and everybody comes over because the cue ball and the object ball are froze together. So Jimmy Reed is shooting the shot. Barry's like this. Here's the shot. Here's Barry. Look. Standing over the shot like this. Anyway, Jimmy Reed shoots the shot, and Barry immediately calls foul. Calls foul. Now, it's a huge controversy. I mean, it's a show on ESPN. The match is close. I have an easy run of 3 balls, cue ball in hand. Lucky I ran out. I wind up winning the match, but the point was, that shot cost me $2,500 because I had to give it to Barry for refereeing. Thank you very much.
Oh, I wish. Thank you, Mike. And where is Jimmy Reed? He should be around, but obviously it was a foul. I remember the shot very well. No. Jimmy Reed was shooting. The balls were close together, and he said something about it. I said, you got to jack up. I think he, whatever, and he followed through, and it was a double kiss. And no, he's lying. He's lying. Alan Hopkins, you want to say something? Yeah. He's going to do it in a minute. Anyway, yeah, of course everybody thought we were both Jews, and that's how that goes. Honestly, that's the way it was. As you know, everybody, we've dedicated the U.S. Open to a living legend this year, Steve Mizrak, and we pray that he has a speedy recovery. He suffered a stroke, and I begged him to come and told him about the roast, and he said if all possible, he'd be here. So in his absence, I think Scott, your name's on this, I think Scott would like to say a few words about the one and only, the Biz, the master, in his absence. So here you go, Scott.
I'm the tournament director for Steve Mizrak's Senior Tour, and I have been since its inception. I've got to be pretty good friends with Steve Mizrak, and he's one of my heroes. But did you know that he used to get these outrageous phone bills for 1-800, 1-900 numbers? Okay. Anyway, but we all know a year and a half ago he had a stroke, and this is not a roast of Steve Mizrak by any means. I just want to pass this on to you for those of you that weren't there in Biloxi last November, but he had a stroke in a summer a year ago, and he had a tournament scheduled in November in Biloxi. At the same time, most of the players, the top players, went to Japan for the $1 million tournament in Tokyo. And but for those of us that were there in Biloxi, Mississippi, it was a real special thing. I mean, it was really unfortunate to see Steve Mizrak with his face not looking the same and in a wheelchair and coming to the tournament. But he is a living legend, and he could have easily withdrawn and not even gone on with the tournament, but he didn't pull it down at all, and he showed up in the condition that he was, and came down to the tournament every day. And at the end of the tournament, they brought him out for the presentation and helped him out of the wheelchair, and he took a group photo with all the world's greatest senior players. And I just think Steve Mizrak has a lot of heart, and he's a terrific guy, and I wish he was here with us tonight. And anyway, this tournament is dedicated to the Miz. Oh, yeah. This is kind of a roast of Barry Berman. But in September, we were at the U.S. Open, and unfortunately, a 9/11 situation happened, and Barry Berman took some money out of the prize fund. Still a little controversial. Matter of fact, I told him in the office, I said, I don't care if you sign my check or not, Barry, but if you guarantee so much added money, you got to pay it. And anyway, so Barry kind of renegotiated the terms of last year's added money to his liking, and I mean, it was dictated actually, but don't fire me, boss. No, anyway, but it was a weird situation. We all got to admit that. It was like a one-in-a-lifetime situation that happened last year. But when we went to Biloxi, the Seminole Tribe of Florida, if any of you are here, thank you, gentlemen, they were the sponsors of the senior tour event, and at the players' meeting, Steve said, we're not taking anything out. We're adding another $10,000. They kicked in another $10,000 into the added money, and that was pretty cool. Steve Mizrak.
Thank you, Scott. Oh, you won't have to come over here, Bo. Oh, boy. Look, this is not about me. Come on, you know. There's enough bad press going on.
I want to tell them how we became such good friends. In 1977, I won the U.S. Open. It was at your pool room. Okay. And I didn't know Barry that well then. I just knew him as a promoter and stuff. And having his pool room there, he put on a nice event. And I won the tournament. He's going to pay me in cash in the back room. So he brings me to the back office, and it was $5,000 first prize. So he sits there and he counts the money twice, and then he hands it to me. So I count the money also. So I take the $5,000 and I'm counting it. And I keep counting it, and it's 5,100. So I don't say to another person, I want to count it again to make sure. So I count it again, and it was $5,100. So I turned to Barry, I said, you know, Barry, you gave me too much money. He said, you gave me $100 too much. And Barry's eyes lit up. He said, really? And from then on, me and Barry have been really good friends.
Oh, I remember that story. It is a true story. I was gay for you then. Just kidding. I was trying to give you 100. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's a true story there. It wasn't a tip, but I just counted too fast. First of all, before we continue with this, I'm very fortunate to have the most loyal staff that any promoter can have. I mean, I run around here all week crazy, but I feel great, and it's such a wonderful feeling, and I owe it to all of my key people. Of course, my son Brady, Stan Holden, Chris Adams. Please stand up, my staff that are working this week and be recognized. Stand up. Common, Mike, myself. I mean, for one of them, I'd look a lot worse. Thank you. All right, next on the list is, may you rest in peace, the one and only St. Louis Roberts. And I know Grady is itching for this. So let's get to a Louis.
What's different because that's sleeping in the door. I can talk like I walk. Look at him sleeping in the back like a big coward. No, Billy, you're my good. You got to sit wherever you want. We're just having a little fun tonight, and I don't have to watch what I say. You know. There was a point at which he was considered maybe to be the finest 9-ball player in all the land, and he retreated into pool cowardice, where he reposed for the next 30 years.
But he still talks shit over those commentary.
Oh, he plays good up there in that booth, doesn't he? No, we've had some fun talking about it. Yes, it has. Well, I learned from a like you, unfortunately. But anyway, Louis Roberts, we already told a few stories about him. Maybe we could take like 20 seconds of nice silence to remember a class guy. Thank you. He livened up any tournament arena or any pool room that he ever went into. And when he was at the top of his game, I'll tell you one last story about Louis. One time I thought I was playing about as good a 9-ball as anybody in the world, and I like to go in sometimes at a tournament at like 6 in the morning when everybody's been up for like 2 days and catch guys that, you know, they're not in their best shape. So I catch Louis like that. He's been up for like 3 days, and so he hustles me to play 9-ball. And I said to myself, well, baby, this is what you've been looking for all your life. You just got out of bed, you're freshly showered and shaved, you got 8 pockets full of money, and you got a guy that's walking around the table like he's in a coma. Boy, he shot my fucking nuts off, you know? And I never forgot. So anyway, why don't you get to the next guy?
And even has your 3 wives, because when you have a nuts, I mean, no wonder you've been divorced a few times. Just kidding, just kidding.
Okay, Matthews, what about the time you and I and Joel Berger drove straight through from Colorado Springs to Bend, Oregon, the end of the 7th mountain? Okay, we drove like 20 hours straight through and everything. What do you think Matthews does? First thing he does, we don't even check into the hotel room. He goes into the back room, gets in the ring game, gets broke in about an hour and a half.
The St. Louis Roberts, 1979 U.S. Open champion, Louis rest in peace. And I'll be honest with you, David Howard comes every year. And I just expected him to be here like he always is. I'm going to have to call and find out what's going on with him. But David Howard was the 1982 and 86 U.S. Open champion. He got his nickname the Giant Killer here at Q Masters in Northview. Because he was an up-and-coming player, a whippersnapper, like to just play anybody. And at that time, Mizrak was a great, and still is, he was a great player. And he asked Mizrak to play a set for $5,000. And Mizrak said no. And so we named him the Giant Killer. That's how he got his name. And David, I hope you're okay, and we'll find out about you. Scott, you want to say your name's here, and Grady, did you want to say anything about little David?
Well, in the respect to the old days, the 70s, when everybody used to smoke pot. Not everybody used to smoke pot, Barry. But David Howard used to smoke pot. And I could always tell after his match if David had been getting high or not, because his eyes would be a bottle of Heineken in one hand. And he'd walk by and say, top player coming through, top player coming through.
I was fortunate to be, I went to see David 2 years ago in Jacksonville, and we played Sawgrass. You know, that's where they have the TPC. I've never paid $275 to play around in golf, but I did, with David and a couple other friends. And about the 8th hole started raining, so I guess you know what we did for about a half hour. And I hit number 17 though, you know, but it was a quite an experience hanging out with David Howard that day. Go ahead, Greg.
Well, I'm good friends with him and Lynn. There was a time when David was a young player from northern Florida, and he moved to Atlanta for a little while. When, to most of us young pool hustlers, his sexual proclivities were a little suspect. But anyway, he got past that. You know what I mean? He swung both ways, maybe cross-dressed a little bit, you know what I mean? But anyway, the next time I had occasion to have dinner with him, Lynn came out in front of me and my then wife, and she said, told David in front of us, she said, I ain't swallowing that shit. Are you nuts?
Uh-oh, we're getting started here. Uh-oh. This next tremendous player will, without a doubt, be a Hall of Famer. It's just a matter of moments. Oh yeah. He's the only man to have won this event 5 times, and that record may never be broken, and he's capable of winning it at least 5 more times. He's the one and only. There's no one like him, that's for sure. We love him at times, and we don't love him at times. But there's no one like the Pearl. Earl Strickland, 5-time USA champion. Sorry, Mr. Singer. Okay, nice.
Now, first of all, I just want to say, Earl Strickland is probably the greatest tournament 9-ball player of all time. Anyway, that said, I just want to set up a couple of impressions, but this one needs setting up. Some of you, I would guess, every male in this room probably knows this shot. Probably the most famous shot ever made in pool. At the Sands, I believe it was, Earl was playing Efren Reyes. To make a long story short, they all down there, they know what shot I'm talking about. He makes it 2 on him. Efren is playing safe on a ball, and the 6 ball goes 2 rails and goes in off of the 8. And Earl, Efren laughs, he gets a little laughs like, oh, I can't believe that happened to me, you know. Earl's looking up, Earl's like, geez, can't believe it. He actually looks up, or sorry, Earl, I gotta do this. He looks up and goes, thank you, Lord. It's like, you know, knowing what happens after that, they would actually, that's what he's thinking. Of course, the rest of you guys know what happens after that. After he kicks the ball and 2 rails, makes it, and runs out, the whole place just falls down. But that's just one of the most brutal moments in sports. But the other moment is when he's playing Johnny, the first LA Open that they had. And Earl has Johnny like 9-4, I think. Is that right? He has a 9-4, and Johnny just plays perfect, comes all the way back, makes it go hill to hill. And this is Earl as Johnny's breaking the ball. So I think he actually had a towel over his head. He didn't want to watch the break. He didn't want to watch. He's like this, and in typical Earl, he's shaking his head. I just can't believe it. He's probably saying that to himself. He's just shaking. He hears the balls. He won't look up. He doesn't look up until he hears the crowd going nuts as the 9 ball's rolling toward the side pocket or the corner. But then slowly, Earl looks up just in time to see the cue ball roll in the side pocket. Earl literally leaps from his chair. His face is just flush red. He's just all walking around the table. His face is red. You can just tell, you know. He gets the ball in hand and he gets out of line the first shot. He gets like, he makes the 1 ball. You remember this, Earl? And he gets like length of the table on the, on the 2 ball. On the rail, I mean, he's almost frozen on the rail, length of the shot, and I said, he's going straight up in the air. And he does. He jacks up like this. The cue ball bounces the whole way. The cue ball bounces two bounces and flies in the corner pocket, and Earl goes, and of course he gets out. I mean, I remember that moment. That was a great moment in the pool. I mean, it was a great, well-played match. Here's a few things that you probably never hear.
Whose cell phone was that? They better turn it off. I think it came from that table.
So anyway, where was I going with this story? So I'm seriously, start me back. Where was I? What were we talking about? Oh yeah, we're going somewhere else now. All right, here's some things that you probably never hear come out of Earl's mouth.
Oh, look at this tail. This is absolutely beautiful. I mean, I've been hitting balls now for almost 2 hours, and I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it at all. I don't know what kind of ball this cue ball is, but I love it. I have to find out where I can get me some of those.
Something else you might never hear Earl Strickland say is, I don't know. What else might never hear Earl Strickland say to somebody? I'm speechless. I'm running out of stuff to say. Anyway, what's that? Yeah, it's a perfect rack. It's a wonderful life. All right. All right, okay, this is my favorite. My last impression is the impression that I actually learned to do Earl Strickland. Jeff Carter fell off the face of the earth, blah, blah, whatever, great player, was doing an Earl Strickland impression for me. He does a great Mike Tyson too. But anyway, Jeff Carter says Earl ran for some sort of board member or president of the MPBA or whatever, and after the votes were in, Earl goes,
I mean, I just can't believe I only got one vote. and I'm pretty sure where that came from.
We want to hear from the man who won this event 5 times. The real Earl Strickland. Come on up here. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I can finally make somebody laugh, that's for sure. But he really did a great job on me there. I'm really impressed. But I had a little meeting with him before he got up here too, not just but I know, and you know, that I've done more things wrong than some of the things he talked about. I know I've done a lot of things wrong myself. But I know I'm a funny guy at times, and sometimes I'm a not so funny guy. But I think we're all strong that way, you know, at times. And I just want to say, I want to thank. I'd like to thank Barry because this is the longest running event in America, for one. And it's an honor to win this event. I remember I won every event in pool just about. And I said, well, geez, how come I can't get any sponsors? This is a good one. You should use this one sometime. And some guy looked at me and he says, well, you got to win the U.S. Open. I think it was Mike said that to me. And I said, what? I got to win the U.S. Open? So what? I don't have to win the U.S. Open to get sponsors. And he said, sure you do. So the day I won the U.S. Open was the day I started really getting sponsors and notoriety, and it proved to me I was a great player to win this event. It's an honor, more than an honor to win it 5 times. I think I'm very fortunate to win it 5 times. I beat a great player like Mike Siegel. I think Mike Siegel was one of the greatest players I ever competed against, other than Reyes. And and I'll say something else too. Steve Miserak is in my top 5 of toughest competitors that I expect. A lot of people just don't know how good Steve was, but I did. And I think some of these other players do too. But God bless him. I hope he gets better. But this is a great event. I don't want to stay here for too long. I'm always running my mouth anyway. So God bless you all. Thank you very much, and look forward to playing.
We're not done with Earl yet, are we? Okay, as tournament director, I've had every one of these guys in my face at least a couple times. Anyway, Earl and I have probably gone around and around a few times or anything. But anyway, cute story in the Denver Open, he's like, Scott, we need to clean these balls, clean this cue ball. So, okay, Earl, let's go clean the cue ball. We go over to the machine and everything, and Earl's got the cue ball in the ball washer, Bloodworth ball washer. And he puts the lid so hard down on it, spin around, and he burned the ball. We took the cue ball out, it was burned. And we had to get a whole new cue ball. And anyway, I stashed it and hid it for later on. I got him autographed a couple of months later. Anyway, but the year that he, when Corey won his first major tournament, kind of by default in Milwaukee, it was 6-5. He just made the 9 in the break. Then he didn't like my rack, and they're too high, Scott. No, they're fine, Earl. They're too high, Scott. I'm not breaking them. Earl, you just made the 9 in the break. They're fine. They're too high. Anyway, he wouldn't break the ball, so we forfeited him out of the tournament. And now he comes down to Charlotte. He gets the points for being second, and Corey Deuel gets first place prize money thing. There were 8 tournaments that year on the Camel Series. Comes to Charlotte, the next tournament, comes waltzing in with this guy. Said it was his attorney. When you found out later it was some private eye or something he just hired that morning or something. But he come in to play and everything, and we met him at the door. Earl, you're not playing. And anyway, so Earl didn't play in Charlotte, but that year he spotted everybody in one tournament. Withdrew in the finals of another one, didn't get those points, went on to win the $60,000 bonus money and be #1 player of the year that year. And at the banquet, Earl was large, and Earl, you were large that night, and apologized to everybody. And Earl does just do some funny things every now and then, but he's a great player and a great sportsman, and I love you, Earl.
Nothing. I just have to do Grady, I guess, because that's probably the best impression I do. Period. So you guys pay good money or whatever. So here was a commentator. This is probably my favorite one. Siegel Barter match. I don't have to say anything else, do I? The U.S. Open. Is there anything else I have to say, Nick? No. Where's my spear? Yeah, I'd like to kill that guy. So and to make a long story short, as Grady would say. Well, Siegel had Nick 9-2 and corner hooked, and that's the God truth. I mean, he's hooked, and Nick pockets the ball in that 9-2 and corner hook, pockets the 2 ball, makes a great run out. Make a long story short, this corner ball went in about, it went in 21 times, consecutive times in the match. I mean, it only went in for one spot. So Nick and me and Buddy Hall are commentating, and he makes this great, terrific run out to go hill, and Nick's running out. And he rips his bank, I think a 5-ball cross side, and he gets right in on the 9. I mean, he's like straight in, it's like a hanger. And he shoots the ball, and it goes to the side pocket, 2 rails, hits his titties, and comes around, and the ball freezes on the 9 ball. I mean, I think every good player here probably remembers that. And it just freezes, and Siegel looks at it like, I mean, and complete utter disbelief, and I actually two bad buddies here. Buddy said on the tape, he said, I had never, ever seen anything like that before in my life. And Grady said, well, buddy, I think that's the first time I've ever heard Nick complain. But anyway, once it got to the hill, I remember Grady says, well, thus far this historic match, we've witnessed the gamut of emotion, the gamut of emotional distress, and were perhaps in another arena, the cry of anguish could clearly be heard miles away. Where does the guy get this shit, I tell you,
just to be serious, I mean, I've been out of the loop, so to speak, in the realm of pool in tournaments, because, well, I've got a paralytic stroke now, as my good friend Billy Cardone can attest to, and inferior ball pocketing ability, but, I mean, mostly it's just the lack of gamble people have nowadays. I mean, the sum total at the champions, I mean, you're laughing, we're looking at you. The sum total they'll bet on their own money could be collected by me or Scott Smith here a cup of coffee. I mean, it's just pathetic. I mean, it's just sick. That's disgusting. And Reed does a pretty good lead. You want to do a quick?
Grady says he does it even better than me yesterday. He got me so hot when he said that. Oh, dog it.
Is the mic on? Well, Billy, you've always been a coward. You never would play me uneven. Why don't you get up and try me some 9-ball, Billy? You've always been a coward. I tell you, I think Reed Pierce is going to have the pressure real good here against this effort. He's used to playing in backyard places where it's hot, greasy, rednecks, and chasing flavors.
All right, is Jimmy Reed here? I'm going to take some pleasure in doing a little about him. You know, women always found Jimmy attractive. Something that was very disconcerting to the likes of me. I mean, I've seen women watch one of his matches hoping that he'd glance in their direction. And of course, they little knew what he did to them. And I've seen them walking around in a daze when he got through with them. But anyway, the orange and the 5-ball story, for any of you that haven't heard it, it's a classic. Jimmy's criteria for when to get a new girlfriend is as follows. He takes an orange and a 5-ball and puts them on the dresser as soon as his third girlfriend can tell the difference, he's out of there. Now, he used to be called Hippie Jimmy many legions ago when the likes of me and Billy knew him, and he was married to Barbara Clooney. And she was beautiful in those days. Wasn't she, Billy? Oh my God! Now Barbara has changed. She got tough. She got robbed up there in Baltimore. She got shot in the neck and wouldn't give up the money. And that's the kind of woman Jimmy was with. You know what I mean? But anyway, I'll never forget that year that he won the tournament here because he was discouraged. He fell behind. I think he was playing LeBron in the finals, and I had a talk with him and tried to cheer him up. Of course, I let him go too, and we'll have fun with him later too, despite his 5 televisions. And anyway, Jimmy played awful good in those days, and he was slow, and he was a lot of fun. You got anything you want to add, you guys, about Jimmy?
Yeah. When I first started playing pool in Tempe, Arizona, this guy was from Pittsburgh, and his name was Marvin Landau. You know Pittsburgh, why do you know who he is? And anyway, he opened up the pool in the Golden 8 Ball in Arizona. So this roadman came through, and he knew it was Jimmy Reed, and I didn't know who it was and everything. So he let me play him just so I could get some seasoning and experience and everything. So I had him like 10 games loose. They used to call me Short Shot Scott because I'd fire like 1 or 2 barrels at anybody came through the door. So I got him running from the beginning. I got him stuck and everything, and now he gets even and everything. And so he's with Barbara at the time, and she was beautiful. And so it's like 3 in the morning or something, and I invited him over to my house to smoke a joint. Anyway, so he comes over, and and he didn't know me very well, and I didn't know him very well. So Barbara and my wife at that time were sitting in these chairs up, and Jimmy Reed invited me to play some gin rummy on the floor. So him and I are sitting on the floor, and he's smoking my pot. And later on, after they left and went home and everything, my wife at that time said, "Scott, that got cheated." I said, "What?" Anyway, so we're playing cards, and every time Jimmy would lay down, he'd pick the cards up real quick and shuffle them up. And anyway, she said, those cards weren't all suited, they were black, but they were, anyway, Jimmy used to play, that was back in the old days when he just was a card guy or whatever, but he wouldn't do it today, actually.
I got a note from Jimmy. It says, Mr. Berman, I got Jimmy Reed called one of the past champions. He will not be able to attend the banquet because he's leaving for Puerto Rico tomorrow, and maybe the last time that he'll see his brother. So I got a note, and that's why Jimmy Reed's not here. But before we continue, as we all know, it's an exciting week for pool. And I owe a tremendous amount of gratitude towards some people that have really put the pay-per-view together. You know, Rob Secor used to be with RJ Reynolds for years, and he's an entrepreneur.